Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Dan, and today I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon, where I would just talk about a bunch of Disney movies and Disney related stuff, because that's the idea here. So I figured I would talk about something Disney related in terms of the films, of course, and I figured since The Mandalorian has been on Disney Plus lately, so I just figured I would talk about their Star Wars franchise, of course, including that one show I just mentioned. So to talk about something more specific, I guess, is that should Star Wars really be about politics? I mean, I don't mind. Of course, again, I'm using a rhetorical question to open a conversation here. So yes, I don't mind if Star Wars be about politics. It, it should be like that, and it should not be changed at all. The original Star Wars trilogy had some politics in it, so yes, I do think it's not a bad thing at all. It was always like this from the very get-go, from the very beginning. You had political themed stuff going on here. Seriously, even this kind of thing was in some of the other films as well, folks. Case in point, folks. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Upon the Pearl Harbor attack, of course, it was a total surprise, and it was conducted by the Japanese. This shocked a lot of people, and of course, Walt Disney had heard about this kind of a thing. He wanted to do something during the First World War, but just never could. So when the Second World War came around, he took this as an opportunity to do something about it. During World War II, Disney himself, when he was alive, had made films for every branch of the United States Armed Forces and government. This was, of course, uh, completed through the use of animated graphics, of course, by means of certain measures, of course. And, of course, this was done for the efforts to do some assistance in some ways, of course. Over 90% of Disney employees were devoted to the production of training and creating this kind of war-themed films for the government itself. Throughout the duration of the war, the Disney had produced well over 3,000 feet of educational war films. Most that cost was quite a bit, I guess you can say. So, which was equal to, if I remember correctly, to 68 hours of continuous film. So that was quite a bit, of course. So he wanted to do something like this, of course, lots of animation. And yeah, of course, he would tell various stories, of course. And yeah, he really wanted to do something to help out in one form or another. And yeah, there was a live action film like this that was done as well. But it was set on a different era of war. So it was like mostly the animated stuff that got really noticed because of this kind of thing. It took place in maybe like some story themed war films, of course. So again, he thought this was a perfect opportunity to actually do something to help out the American forces. So, of course, it made total sense to actually do this kind of a thing. And yes, he actually wanted to actually help out. It's something that had to be done in his point of view, and he had to help some kind of way. So it does make perfect sense for the company to actually continue like a war theme kind of thing in their Star Wars films. And that's the thing, when I say quite a bit, I mean, do mean quite a bit of animated shorts, animated features that will have a war theme going on. So it didn't exactly stop, really, because it's something he wanted to put some effort put together, of course. And like this one, for example, I know quite a few of these. Donald Duck was like the main character in quite a few of these. Like this one, for example. So I guess that would explain his hot tempered, I guess. And they got like another story going on as well. So I guess it would explain why he gets angry pretty easily. So there's that. So of course, Walt Disney himself always had to think about stories, keep it himself relevant and whatnot. So it does make sense. Mentioned before, this kind of thing was actually in the original Star Wars trilogy, and I know that's like obvious. That I'm pointing out, it's quite clear that he was always like that. Yes, by all means, continue this kind of a thing. I really would love to see them expand the franchise into some other directions because they're trying to keep it faithful to how it was to begin with and maybe stretch into new directions, creatively speaking, of course. And I know, before anyone says it, I can already hear some people telling me that otherwise, oh, Star Wars was never political. Oh, Star Wars never had this kind of thing before. All this, all that, but this, but that. Oh, Star Wars was never like this before until Disney got their hands on it, blah, 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 blah. And of course, just totally idiotic, obviously. Just comes off like people don't do their research and just go along on how they feel to be right and not go along with any actual facts at all. I think complain about someone else for not doing any research where they themselves have not done any research like at all. A lot of people are stating that they didn't like the new Star Wars films, especially the Star Wars Force Awakens and Last Jedi, primarily because of Rey. Which, of course, is just totally asinine. They're acting as if having a female lead never occurred before in a Star Wars movie. I know it's kind of it's obvious. A lot of these points are pretty obvious. Okay, it was always there. But a lot of people seem to be thinking that Disney started the whole female lead thing, and Disney was the first to add the whole political angle to these films when in reality it was always there. I don't keep repeating myself, and I know I'm pointing out the obvious, but just the movie-going audience nowadays just seem to take all the wrong direction, like this guy right here. I'm over here thinking, what are you even talking about? Um, yeah, some people don't mind seeing the LGBT diversity in Star Wars. Okay, fine. But of course, some people be thinking that oh, there's an agenda going on, acting as if it doesn't come naturally. Again, what are you even talking about? You're not getting what these films are trying to do. This kind of a thing, this diversity, was always there. It was always like that to begin with. So a lot of people are trying to act as if the new Star Wars films are trying to have forced diversity, when in reality, that's not the case. Again, I'll bring up the original Star Wars trilogy. This whole diversity thing was even there in the original films too. How are you not seeing this? It was all out of this you complain about. It was always there. It was always came out naturally. So what? Original Star Wars trilogy, the character of Princess Leia, she helped the Rebel Alliance, and she had actually done quite a bit. If anything, she had done a lot more than compared to any of the characters shown on screen. She's basically a rogue senator who wants to use the government for better use for everyone, of course, and expand it some kind of a way. And that's exactly what happened. In Star Wars The Last Jedi, she basically went up the ranks and became a general of some kind. And she wanted to use her powers to help people. Of course, for the greater good, obviously. Again, basically building upon the ideas, what was already done from the old films. So, how are they not seeing this exactly? I do not know. This whole female lead, characters with, you know, some sort of backgrounds wanting to make a difference was already in these films. It's nothing new. They've already done this kind of a thing, as it were. course, this can be used as a way to have some scenes develop into something in a sense of something could be intense, something in regard to the Senate, or maybe how there was corruption, assassinations, and of course, this could be such an excuse to do this kind of thing, of course. And yes, this was actually expressed in the news films as well. Order is definitely been helped by Ben Kenobi, whom is basically like this angry individual, very, very angry. And Rey wants to make sure maybe he could be saved. Maybe there's a chance. As it was expressed in The Last Jedi, maybe this individual could have some hope. Maybe. So, of course, the resistance needs to have some more strength, of course. And there's something about this whole thing I could easily expand upon, maybe in different videos, I guess, because there's lots of material to go on off from this stuff alone. Because Star Wars does have an expanded universe which goes into video games, comics, and such. So there's definitely not a shortage of this. I think considering the fact that even Disney itself, the companies, is even adding more stuff to the lore as well. So like I said, there's definitely not a shortage of this, like, at all. When it comes to storytelling, some sort of political affair and war and whatnot. This kind of a thing was, again, like I mentioned before, was expressed upon in Walt Disney's animated cartoons and whatnot. So I see no harm using this kind of a thing in the Star Wars films. So this kind of a thing was, I guess you can say, in other words, pretty interesting. And it could be more interesting if done correctly. This whole political stuff doesn't have to be a bad thing, of course, folks. I know this video has been going on long enough, folks. There's some other stuff I would like to bring up, but I could save them for some other videos, I suppose. This is Star Wars, folks. There's definitely a whole lot, and I do mean a whole lot, of material I could easily just dive right into and just blabber on. And I know there's some stuff I do want to get into, of course. There's quite a bit I would like to discuss for my Disney stuff, of course. But for now, I'll just stick with this video, obviously. So, of course, as always, thanks for watching, and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh yeah.